Okay, this week we are discussing the final film in our Oscars Best Picture nominee series, and that is Sarah Polley's Women Talking, a film based off of a novel of the same name that was inspired by true events of the Manitoba Colony in Bolivia. Events that took place between 2005 and 2009. This film tackles very timely topics such as trigger warning, sexual assault, feminism and equality and misogyny and religious extremism and the abuse of power, and all those things wrapped into a package that is very subtle but very powerful and simple and very effective, in my opinion. You have this smirk on your face, Zach, and I'm not sure what
I'm sorry. We're talking about something really heavy, and Athena's...
Is she licking your hand?
No, she's just farting up a storm over here. She'll lay on her back and she'll just fart and look at me, and it cracks me up. However, this is a very heavy film that we're going to be talking about today, and I need to ask you the question, as it looks like an earthquake is going on in my apartment. But is Women Talking good?
We're
talking about the movie. We're not talking about just women talking in general.
Let's find out.
But is it good podcast? Yeah.
Welcome to episode 111. Oh, we gotta have a video platform here soon for full episodes so people can see what we're laughing at. Athena's she's having her way, I guess you could say. Anyway, welcome to episode 111 of But Is It Good podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Callahan.
And I'm your host, Zach Olson. And with us today, apparently, is Athena. She's here.
She is just feeling it tonight.
Oh, goodness.
That's funny. How are you, Zach? How's life?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Life is good. Athena's been a little sick. She's had some stomach issues. She's actually feeling really good right now. But
yeah,
she has had some stomach issues. You want to come in the camera? You want to come say hi? Come up here.
Hey, sweet girl. You're so big.
You have a kiss? Good girl.
She's so big.
She's huge. She's about to be 50 pounds.
God, that's crazy,
and she's about 7 months old. She's going to keep growing until she's about a year and a half old, so who knows how big she's going to get.
Yeah.
I think she's about to go into heat based on the hormones that are pumping.
About to say.
As you can see.
I can also hear.
Can you really?
I can hear her collar. All right, I guess I'll go. My turn. Well, I guess you have to ask me how I'm doing first.
How are you doing, Hunter? How's life?
I'm good. I'm good. Just got back from Chicago yesterday.
Good.
Which was very cool.
How was Chicago?
It was good. It was fun. I'll tell you a little story about it a little bit later. But it was good. One day was kind of a wash because it was like there was a bad storm went through the Midwest, and it rained for like 15 hours straight. It was ridiculous. But it's a cool city. I enjoyed my time there. I didn't get to explore quite as much as I hoped I would have.
Right.
But it was good. And then this weekend, Hannah is actually in Florida for her friend's birthday. And so it's been me and Hollis hanging out today and last night.
Cool.
But I'm good. So housekeeping, please follow, subscribe and stuff. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I actually had to catch up on TikTok because I fell behind a little bit because I do that every now and then. Zach, I'll just carry this one, okay? You can just sit there and just endure, I guess. Can you not push her away?
I mean, I can. I just don't. She gets so offended so quickly. Like, if I push her away, she'll just, like, sulk for, like, a day and a half.
Oh, she's so sweet. Anyway, we're wrapping up our Best Picture nominee series with women talking. And yeah, this one was very tough to see. It seems like the cinemas conspired to make this near impossible for us to see, and in fact, they succeeded because we had to watch it on YouTube.
The cinemas or the distributors, like the people.
My case was the cinema's fault.
Yeah. But if the distributors had it more widely available, we would have been able to watch it a different time. There would have been other options. You see?
That's true. So you can go first, Zach. Your first reactions to women talking. Let's dive in. I've been like, it's been a busy day, so I'm going to get my energy back up. Here we go. Let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah. Energy's back. Energy's here. So I loved it. I thought it was really powerful. It was a very simple film. It's women talking, but it was done extremely well. I could see how some people would think it was boring, and I think that the people that didn't like it, like if you look on Rotten Tomatoes and the audience score is like 80%, people just think, it's not like a Marvel movie, it doesn't have just constant action, but I thought it was brilliant. I think it's really powerful and really, it does a really good job of getting its message across. The cast is phenomenal. Like, I think on what I was saying earlier, if the cast had been different, it might have been boring, but I thought that the cast just did a phenomenal job with the script. And sorry, I'm very...
I just realized that during Movie Minute, you're going to be sitting there and just probably having to like... Oh, funny. Anyway, continue. Or is that it?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I didn't... There's one character that I didn't really like that I was texting you about. We'll talk about her. But overall, I thought it was really well done. It has kind of a bittersweet ending, I would say. Not like a super happy ending. Which how could you with a movie like this? I don't know. I just thought it was really well done overall, and I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah.
I would have to agree. Real quick, though, I'll tell my story. Trying to see this film. We both were, I guess, a little worried, being like, are we going to be able to watch this movie? Because it was back home in Atlanta, I was playing it was Wednesday and Thursday at like 4:00, right? So middle of the workday. And then Sunday, it would have been playing today at like 5:40. No, tomorrow at like 5:45 because today's Saturday. So I was going to see it in Chicago. And Wednesday I planned. What just happened? I missed it. Did she fall?
Yeah, she just jumped.
I was going to see it on Wednesday, but it was pouring rain and I just didn't want to go out in it. And then, we ended up going to dinner with my clients. And so I was like, I'll just go on Thursday. So on Thursday, I found a 7 p.m. showing in Chicago. So I Ubered up to this music store that's really famous, hung out there for like 20 minutes, and then Ubered from there to the movie theater. And it was probably the nicest theater I've ever been in my life. It was incredible. Small in the sense of like, it had like 7 or 8 theaters, but very big in the sense of like, it was very grand. It had a beautiful interior, full bar, full restaurants, all this stuff. It was awesome. Seats were super nice. Theaters were nice. Screens were huge. 7 p.m. showing. So I get there right on time at 7 o'clock. I go in there and we sit till about 7:10, 7:15, which has become normal for us because the theaters out that we go see, they're always late. Yeah. So I was like, whatever. Somebody goes and asks and comes back. He's like, oh, they're working on it. So at 7:30, half an hour later, like from the time of the start of the movie, the manager comes in and says, hey, sorry, it's not going to play because the bulb is broken in the projector. So it's like, Siri just talked to me in my AirPods. That was freaky. Siri, shut up. Anyway, he was like, we can give you a refund or 2 tickets. And I was like, well, I don't live in Chicago and I'm leaving tomorrow. So that's not going to do me any good. And I knew that it would be impossible for me to see it yesterday or today in Atlanta, because one, it's not playing, but two,
Right.
So lo and behold, I look on YouTube and it had come out like that day, I think, or something like that. It was this week for sure.
Wasn't really announced that it was going to be
just so happens.
available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we ended up buying it. We now own the movie, buying it on YouTube.
Which honestly, when we split it, it's about the same price as just going to see it in the theater.
So I ended up watching it on my computer in my hotel room. And just as a testament to this movie, I had to get up at 4:00 to catch my flight.
Mm-hmm.
And I started this movie at 9 because I had to pack up. And I watched about an hour and 15 minutes of it in the first sitting because I was just absolutely captivated. I loved this movie. I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think I don't really have frankly, any like notes or complaints. I thought it was brilliant. I think the cast was awesome. I think it did a really, really good job of showing how, I don't want to say not black and white, but like how complicated dealing with this is. And like, we're 2 men, like we're not going to really understand. But there are so many characters who have so many different perspectives and views on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the trauma that comes with that, and like the gaslighting, and like just the mental toll. You have some characters who are, I want to, like, I'm not going to say any spoilers, I guess, but are like angry and like, I want to burn the whole place down. You have some characters who are like, what's the most effective way to get out of this? And you have some characters who are like defending the abuse out of like a coping mechanism. And at the end, for me, like, I felt for all of them and I cared about all of them. I just thought it was great. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was just phenomenal. I really did. This one for me, I think because Everything Everywhere was so long ago that I almost don't like think about it in terms of like this series, even though it is. But this one, I almost said was like my number one.
Okay.
It might be. Everything Everywhere, I think, is still going to hold on to that spot because it's just such a crazy ride and a masterpiece. But this one is like a very close second, if not number one. I thought it was great.
Well, there you have it.
See you guys next time.
Yep. See you next week when we do John Wick.
I actually am excited about that. Anyway,
I am too.
It's time.
It's just it's a big contrast.
Yes, yeah. It is time for spoilers. So look out.
Yeah.
Because they're coming.
Spoilers. And so there's a boat with spoilers on it, and it's coming over the horizon. It's a big old yacht. But flanking it on either side are 2 smaller boats. Trigger warnings, because we are going to be talking about abuse in many different forms, sexual abuse, mental abuse, and the topics may get a little heavy.
Yes.
We like to keep it lighthearted, but we'll see.
Yes.
And another disclaimer, as Hunter said, we're 2 men talking about this movie, so, take that as you will.
All we can do is our best to be receptive to it. We're not going to pretend like we have experienced it. But yes, be aware of that. These are tough topics. And like Zach was saying, we try to have fun and we like to be lighthearted. So, but we also want to be real and talk about things that matter and that are important.
Right.
So if this is a little more, I don't want to say somber, but I guess more serious this time, then that's just how it is. We invite you to be serious with us, but also we have, it can be an enjoyable conversation. Anyway, I got to do movie a minute. So Zach, last week you made me explain to them via song what this is. So I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. We'll like pull up a timer. So here we go. And a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right now, it's movie in a minute. We got 60 seconds now to talk about the movie. No more, no less. Do it in 60 seconds and you're the best. Go over and you suck. Go under and you're a fuck. It's movie in a minute.
Profound. Oh, amazing. All right, cool. Movie minute. This is going to be interesting because it's one of those movies where like so much happens, but like nothing really happens.
A lot happens.
I mean, like a ton happens, but like I can't be like, and then they went to the barn and talked. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see how I do. I'm going to try and take my time. I'm not going to get any names right, just so everyone knows. Except maybe Ona. All right. Will you count me down?
Yeah, sure. This is Women Talking, movie in a minute in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, we are at a colony. We have a voiceover. This girl is talking to an unborn child, who gets at this time has been born. Anyway, we don't really know what time it is, but it looks like it's much earlier, like long ago is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, there's this colony. The men consistently abuse the women and the girls, and the women of the colony have decided to take action, if you will. They all kind of get together. They have the options of stay and fight, leave, or do nothing. And there's a vote. The top winners are stay and fight or leave. So they have this group and they debate all the traumas and how to deal with the abuse. And there's a lot of different perspectives and it's really insightful and it's really, really great. And then they decide to leave. And so they get all the women who want to go, except there's this one old cranky lady. She stays. And they all leave the men and start a new life.
That's right. That was perfect.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. I tried to be, I don't know. I guess I did fine.
Yeah.
Is she going to do this the entire night?
She's got to get tired at some point, right? Like she's got to, I mean, I mean, you get tired at some point, right? I know I do. So after a while, it's like, all right, I think I'm going to lay down.
I mean, yes.
I have a cramp.
You got a stitch? You get a stitch? Oh, gosh.
This is not the best way to start this movie.
No. Anyway, okay, so let's do this real quick because this movie it's not easy, like brief to talk about as far as the plot, and there's a ton. But before we get into that, because it's kind of confined to like one little room, one little area, one little event, let's discuss something that we actually probably should do this more often on the podcast. Is for just a few minutes because you mentioned it a few times. Let's talk about the filmmaking of this movie before we get into the story. How about that?
Okay.
Because you text me like 4 times about the score.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Just everything before we even get into the actual plot of the film about this movie is phenomenal, at least in my opinion.
I want to shout out the score.
Let's see who it was.
Hildur.
Oh, try it. Come on.
Guðnadóttir.
Okay.
She's Icelandic. She did an incredible job with the music with this film. She also composed the music for Tar and Joker.
Oh, wow. Okay, she actually won an Oscar for Joker not last year. Was it 2019?
Mm-hmm.
She totally won an Oscar, and that actually makes sense because the music, whether you like Joker or not, and Joker was really great. Yeah, everything about this just fits so well. Like,
yeah,
the cinematography, the editing. The script was phenomenal. The acting was great. The direction was great. Everything was just like, I thought it was just everyone was on their A game.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to keep it together. It's like, do you remember during the pandemic where there was that guy, he was like a news something, and he was trying to like give like a stone face interview.
Yes,
and
I
his
think
kid
so.
came in. This is a little different than that, but
Athena's here to keep us lighthearted.
but the editing too. There's something about when two characters are having a conversation, and then it just like in that conversation will cut to like a memory or something. There's something about that kind of cut that just like hits me. You know, it's something that happened in. It reminds me of Her with Joaquin Phoenix. You know what I'm talking about? Where like he's like,
we both seen that movie already, but we didn't do that on the podcast. That movie's incredible.
yeah, for sure. I love that movie. That movie's amazing. But there's a lot of those cuts where they're having a conversation and they're trying to be, you know, strong, or at certain points they're trying to like be lighthearted. It's like a laugh or cry situation, right? But it'll just cut to the moment of them like in the bed when the trauma occurred, and they wake up and they realize it, and it's super impactful, and it's such a simple thing to do, right? But it really works, and I thought, so overall the editing of the film, I thought they did a wonderful job.
Well, it's funny because like it's very easy to let flashbacks just become like exposition dumps,
Right.
or just like unnecessary. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And these, you know how I love subtlety, and how I like when a film lets you figure it out. Like they don't spoon feed it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like this.
Well, not just that, but it's like that's kind of how we remember, right? We'll be talking, we'll be in conversation with someone, and
like
we'll just have
there,
like an image or like a few seconds of something will pop up in our head, and we'll remember, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's totally all right. And I think that's lends itself as to why it's so effective. But I also liked how one of the first scenes that we see is it's Ona, I believe. She wakes up and she's got bruises and blood between her legs and on her thighs.
Yeah.
And it looks like, and again, like we're going to be adults about this, and we'll use language that's clinical and honest. It looks like it looks like it's years and years and years ago, 100 years ago or so. It's like a much older time. So I didn't know if it was like menstruation or like she didn't know what was going on. But then you kind of, the more that you're kind of shown and you see bruises, and it's like, oh, they're being abused. And then someone says like they're drugged, and it's like, but it's not all up front. It's not like thrown in your face. Like it lets you learn more and more about what's being done to them and how bad it is. It's like you start getting attached to them, and then they just give you something else, and it's like, oh my God, and something else. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, by the time you kind of see the whole picture, you care about these characters and these women, and it's just like, I don't know. I thought it was super effective. I was entranced by it within the first few minutes. And this movie, it's not that long. It's an hour and 45 minutes, but this movie flew by. Like, I was like 100% just like, and I watched it on my computer. Like, I'm bummed that I didn't get to watch it in the theater. You know what I'm saying? You know,
I would love to see this in the theater. In fact, I might go see it in the theater if I can find a showing, you know.
Yeah.
It plays like twice a week in the entire
and
Atlanta.
It's like during work hours too.
Right, like 4:30 on a Wednesday and a Thursday kind of situation. But
that's another.
I'm kind of glad that I watched it on the computer, because the writing, it's like every other line is very profound and quotable. You know what I mean? And there were multiple times where I was like, hold on a second, I want to hear that again. And I would just go back like 30 seconds, you know.
There's one of the lines that just, I think one of the earlier ones when they're talking is, what is it? Sometimes forgiveness can be mistaken for permission.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was great. Anyway, sorry, I think you were still saying something. Sorry, I just cut you off.
No. I mean, you know, we're going to talk about the film.
Yeah. Okay, so plot. Here we go. First off, when did you think this took place? Did you know that it was modern time?
I mean, I didn't know that it was modern time, but it is sort of the flavor of the month to have something seem like it's in generations ago, but it's actually present day. I'm thinking of like Don't Worry Darling, or other, or like Westworld, right?
Yeah.
That being said, what was shocking to me, because I haven't read the book, I didn't know that this was based on true events, was to hear that this happened between events.
Yeah.
This or events like this happened between the years 2005 and 2009 in Bolivia, which is just insane to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't know for sure that it was
Yeah.
present day.
I only knew because I saw it like in the summary or something like that. It was like 2010. But
Okay.
when I was watching it, that was like out of my head. I didn't even think. It didn't make me go, oh, wait a second. But then when I did think about it, it made me realize just how sheltered and like controlled these women were. Anyway, so yeah, they're in a colony, a Mennonite colony. It's like a very extreme Christianity. And basically the women aren't allowed to do anything, they have no education, they can't read, can't write. It's very much, it's almost plainly said in the film that they're not even hardly allowed to think, The men have all the power and it's abused. They rape and sexually abuse the women, but not just that, they abuse their daughters. Like there's somebody says that her daughter was 4. So it's kids, that's a toddler, and in my opinion.
Meanwhile, when they speak up about it and go to the powers that be in the society, they're told that it's either hallucinations or ghosts or
Satan,
the devil.
Yeah.
And that they're being punished for their sins.
Yeah, there's a
or they're lying to get attention.
Yeah,
it's just
there's the way that this film opens, and that was really, really great. And there's a voiceover going, and it says that we're told that this was just the wild result of female imagination. And then the title card comes up and says, what you're about to see is the result of female imagination. I thought that was really, really great. But yeah, so it's that that almost cliched thing now at this point, where it's like they speak up and they're not heard or believed,
right.
but it's like to an extreme. It's like not just that, they're gaslighted, and so basically they reach a tipping point, and the women, there's, what is it? Some men get sent to jail. I think they actually go to jail for like a day, like a week, maybe. Is that what it is?
I think it's longer than that, because the reason all the men are gone is to pay their bail and get them out. So it sounds like they're going to be locked up for however long, unless they're bailed out, right?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. But the women have a vote, and they vote to either do nothing, stay and fight, or leave. And the two that get the most votes are stay and fight or leave. So they can't all decide. So they have like a council. They like make a little council. And let me pull up the names, because I don't know the names. So you have Rudy Mara as Ona. Claire Foy as...
You got Salome.
Jessie
She
Buckley
is
as,
the aggressive one.
Yes, she's the one who was like,
Salome
I want to burn everything down.
Yeah, and I was Team Salome the whole
And then
movie.
I'm going to say these names wrong, but is it Mariche or is it Mariche?
I think it's Mariche. I think was how they
Jessie
pronounce
Buckley.
it.
She's one that is a very interesting character to me. She is the absolute worst at first.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to her. Then Agatha, Judith Ivey, Greta, Sheila McCarthy. Mayhall is Michelle McLeod. Netche, Liv McNeil, Oucha. I don't know how to say these names. I'm trying to think of how they sounded. Kate. Hallett Melvin is August Winter. August is Ben Wishaw. Frances McDermott. Her name is Scarface Jans. I didn't know that. Literally on Wikipedia, which could be bullshit. It says Scarface Jans.
Scarface
Kira
Jans.
as Anna. We have Helena. We have Miep as well. So we have these women, and almost immediately the different personalities are really, really prominent. And it seems like, and Kirk, if I'm wrong, let me know. It seems like there's a lot of like women and their mothers. I don't know the names, but I think Ona's mother is there. She's the one who says, "In the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, shut your pie holes."
Yeah.
That's Ona's mother. And then Mariche's mother is the one who talks about her horses.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes.
And then also, I think, is it Auche? Is that Mariche's daughter or is that Nietzsche?
Auche is Mariche's daughter.
So, how do you want to start? What do you want to talk about? Like, how do you want to go by person? Or you just want to talk about kind of what they're? Because I'm up for anything.
Can I start
please.
with the? I love this movie, but I do have a question.
Yeah,
it's like the whole underlying premise of the plot. So I kind of want to ask it and just get it out of the way so we can talk about the characters.
Please.
We can talk about the interactions. The Mennonite group are completely off the grid, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're literally hiding in their houses when the census people come by. They don't want to be a part of society, right? Mm-hmm. And the men in the community are enablers of the abuse. So how did the men get arrested in the first place?
So, I don't know. It seemed like, from what I gathered, and I'm not sure, it seemed like they were arrested within the community because it was one of those rare times where they got actually caught, right?
So they felt like they had to do something.
So it was like, oh, we can't just be like, oh, it was Satan. That's what I gathered from it because.
Okay.
And
so
then
they
maybe
they took
like
their own and took them into town.
Yeah, and then from then it was kind of out of their hands. Because it says that they've been using cow tranquilizer to subdue them and then rape them. Yeah, it says the attackers are arrested and imprisoned in a nearby city. So that's what I took from it in the sense of like, because the voiceover, like I think it's Nietzsche's voice, even says like, one night we actually caught one of them, and so it sounds like that's a rare occurrence. And so maybe because there was actual like, oh, we have witnesses, it was him. Maybe they had to, but I could be wrong.
That's fine, but then why would they take them to prison, turn around, come back, and then say, we got to go break them out. We got to pay their bail. Come on, man. Let's go get them. You see what I'm saying? Like that point just doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm willing to look past it because I think this movie is brilliant. It's just a question that I have,
I mean, I don't know, from when I was watching it, it seemed like when they all kind of just went at once and didn't come back until it was settled. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. If that's the one fault, then that's fine. Whatever. They got the men out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I just wanted to get that out of the way because it was a question I had from the top, Yeah,
it did seem like to me, though, at least because one was actually caught, that it was like, that's kind of what set it in motion. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so
we have the vote. We have this wonderful exposition of what's going on, why they're in the position that they're in. Mm-hmm. And then we have the vote, and it's a tie. It's a dead tie between staying and fighting or leaving.
Sorry, go on.
Frances McDormand's character, I guess Scarface Jans. I thought Frances McDormand was going to be in this film more. I mean, when you get
someone like her,
I just thought she was going to be in the film more. She's in the beginning and then she's at the end. Yep. But she is a do nothing. She's in the do nothing camp, and she's not even willing to hear people out. She's like, I'm going home.
You know what's funny about this? I think this film does an absolutely incredible job of like, I'm not even sure how to like articulate it or like give the language for it. That's going to make sense because I want to be like respectful and like correct, but it's like, there's probably like a clinical term for it, but it's like, it's not trauma bonding, but it's like a
Stockholm syndrome.
Maybe. Yeah. It's like, it's
you form a bond with your abuser.
No, but it's like where it's like this is my fault. Like this is on me. It's like you'll vouch for the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But that's not even really the right way to put it. It's like, maybe it's because they're in this like religious system, but it's like someone like Frances McDormand's character, or I don't want to say Scarface Jans. That sounds like it's made up. Maybe it's because of the system that she believes in. She's defiant of the notion that they should fight or that they should leave. And it's like,
well, honestly,
she has a scar, so I would imagine that she has had abuse. And
right.
I'm wondering if it's like, oh, well, if I had to go through this, then all of you have to. Because there's things with Mariche later who say stuff like, we've all been abused. Why is it so hard for you to deal with it? And, so I think it's just really interesting. This film shows you every perspective of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. In a huge way, this is a philosophy film, right? There are a bunch of people gathered around sharing ideas and debating. And Frances McDormand's character, I also do not want to call her Scarface Jans because that just sounds ridiculous for some reason. Her like core belief, which I don't think it aligns with anyone else in the group, but her core belief is that, ensuring the afterlife, ensuring the trajectory of her afterlife takes precedence over the current life. And so whatever abuse she has to go through, whatever she has to defend, or, blah, 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 it doesn't matter, or it doesn't compare, right, to, the kingdom of heaven. The other girls in the colony say, fuck that. And that's why they continue to have the healthy debate that they have, right?
Yeah.
But that's why she leaves, right? Is because that's like the first conversation that's had, right? Is she's basically saying, if we leave, we ensure that we're going to hell. Do you really want to do that, right?
Yeah.
And Ona says, isn't the life we're currently living, doesn't it have some value?
Yeah.
Right. And sort of like opens up that dialogue. And that's when she leaves, right?
Just be living for the next.
Right.
It is interesting because this film could have very easily gone a very anti-religion or, anti-Christianity, anti-whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually doesn't. It's really fascinating because it shows I don't know how to say it, but it's like these women still, they come to the conclusion that it is actually an act of faith to leave.
Sure, because it's what they need to do, and what the men tell them that they need to do is forgive them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they come to the conclusion. I don't know if we want to jump all the way there, or if you'd rather not do this.
I don't care. You can go wherever.
They come to the conclusion that remaining there, if they remain there, forgiveness is not an option.
Mm-hmm.
It will be either impossible and they will become murderers and literally kill the abusers. Which
it was like staying is choosing violence, whether it's inflicted upon them or they do or they
Right.
inflict it on them.
Or if they stay and forgive, it's forced upon them and it's not genuine, right? It's not. How could that be an act of faith if it's not coming from the heart? So they determine over the course of 48 hours that with distance, maybe they can come to pity the society that they left, right? And so it's really the ultimate act of faith to leave.
Man, this movie just it doesn't pull any punches in. It's not afraid to ask every question and it shows the reactions to
right.
that. Like there's even where it's like, what is it? Is it Ona who's saying that, like, in a sense the men are also innocent? Remember how she's saying, like, because of the system that they were brought up in and what they were taught, they are guilty but also innocent, which is, it's hard to say that because they aren't innocent, but it's like,
right.
It's saying also, like, the ones, even if they haven't done the abuse, are they innocent of it because they're part of that system and they kind of, cultivate it and enable, but even the ones who have done the abuse because of what they were shown and taught and raised in, there's a great line somewhere where it's like, I forgot what it is, but basically saying that, like, all the men, I think she's talking about Klaus, which is Beriche's husband, saying, like, he was also once like an innocent and pure child at some time. And it's really interesting. That's such a fascinating.
Well, and think about when they're trying to decide if they should bring the kids, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, should we bring these men that are 13, 14? And August says something along the lines of, they're impulsive and they're emotional at that age, but if you raise them with love, they
can be taught.
Right.
He was great
and
too.
So the solution to a system of abuse, which I think everyone can agree that we live in a system of abuse in multiple ways, like so many ways, it's ridiculous, isn't to stay and just accept it. It isn't violence. It's to create something new, right? And it's interesting because we don't see that at all. I mean, the movie ends with them leaving, I guess, with Ona's baby, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Who has been born at some point in the future, but because the narration from the beginning is Altja talking to Ona's baby, but I don't know, and I know that we're trying to keep this shorter, so we can't talk about everything. But, like, there's really it's every single line is on purpose in this movie. Oh, absolutely.
And I just think it's so well done how they I've said it a million times already, but every perspective you have the angry one, Salome, who just wants revenge and will burn everything down, and how that's not exactly healthy, but it's also more understandable. And then you have Meriche, who, like, later in the movie gets the shit beat out of her. She comes back swollen and broken and bruised and bloody. And
after deciding to leave, by the way, and knowing knowing what she was going to do, and her mother telling her, don't go home tonight, come stay with me, right?
Yeah.
And it was like the last whimper of her, accepting the abuse, quite frankly, right?
Yeah.
Like Salome's character is the aggressive. I mean, isn't it Salome at the beginning who takes the sickle and is, like, literally trying to kill the guy when they catch him?
Yep.
Or maybe it's the next day. I don't know if it's that night because I think it's daytime when she's going at him with the sickle. But and then Mariche's character is a product of the society. I was texting you while we were watching the movie, and I was like, her character just bugs the shit out of me. It's not the fact
I think she's supposed to.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. And the big thing that gets on my nerves isn't the fact that she wants to stay or that she's, like, defending the abuse per se. It's the attacks against the other people who have a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She's so defensive to the point where at one point she calls Ona a whore.
Yeah.
When, how can you say that when she didn't choose to become pregnant, right? And I don't know. It's she did get on my nerves. But anyways, I want to talk about, I guess it's it's Mariche's mom talking about the horses. I thought that was awesome. You know, about like the second conversation about the horses, where she's talking about how nervous she was to be on this road because you know, she couldn't really control the horses and they were going either way. And it wasn't until she looked far down the path and focused on that she was able to understand and gain control and gain clarity. That's powerful shit, dude.
It was like I'm not sure what the actual line was, but it was like, I forgot it. I don't know. It's just saying like, you know, you can't sacrifice the better tomorrow for like the rough right now. You know what I'm saying? That's not the line, but like basically there's some, it's said in the film, which is really prophetic and really, really great. But, I loved her. I thought she was great. I don't know. I mean, I just think, but again, it doesn't pretend like that's an easy choice to make.
Right.
You know, like that's terrifying to them. Like this is there's the scene. I think it's Ona's mother, who I thought was phenomenal. She was one of my favorites. Where she's talking about, you know, like they have to leave, whatever. And I think it's probably Mariche who's saying, like, how can you be blah, 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 blah. And she's like, this is the only place I've ever known. And she's basically saying, like, this breaks my heart. Like, I don't ever want to leave here. I love this. This is my home. But just knowing, like, but we cannot stay. You know, we just cannot stay.
Right.
And I think this is really important to, like, there's so many stories of people who are dealing with abuse or like domestic abuse, whatever, any kind of abuse. And it's so easy for somebody who's not in it to be like, leave, like get out of that relationship. And that's such a slap in the face of them to make it sound like it's just this easy. I mean, yes, it's a choice, but like, it's never that black and white, you know? And I think this film does a really good job of showing how, like hard that is, how so many different emotions and like logic and reasoning are. Sorry, that was my dad. My dad's talking to me. I'm in his office.
Okay, you just started giving the thumbs up, and I'm like, is that our producer?
But no, like there's so many different like fears and coping mechanisms and like patterns and lies and things that you get stuck in and. I just think this is one of the best films that I've ever seen that have like done that in a way that makes sense, you know, because even if you haven't dealt with this stuff, everyone has some sort of trauma, you know, it might not have been some, crazy thing, but everybody has emotional trauma, you know, verbal abuse, like the slightest things can be, really damaging. And, you know, I'm very open about, my past when it comes to like religion, and I've deconstructed a lot of things. And, you know, one of the things that was prevalent in this film is, you know, there's a lot of different Christian faiths that have this idea of being like, oh, well, you're a broken sinner who, you know, is never going to do anything by themselves and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, as I got older, that started to realize that was damaging, at least to me, being like, oh, well, I guess I'm nothing. And that's kind of like a weird example, but you believe it. You learn to believe it for so long. And I just think I don't know. I thought I just thought it was super. It was just awesome. It was great. That was a long rant that went nowhere, but
no, I was, I'm here for it.
Does a great job of, I just think it's so important to show that it's like, hey, this sucks. like changing this, making this choice to make your life better hurts really, really bad, and it's going to be really, really tough. And overcoming those sort of negative self-talk and those beliefs and those lies is like not an easy thing to do.
Right.
Anyway, I could go on for hours about this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I could too. I do have one character that I wanted to
Let's do it.
ask you about, because if there's any character in the movie that I wish I got more backstory or I was able to understand more, it would be Melvin.
Yes. That was interesting to me in the sense of like my first thought, sorry, I cut you off, or do you want me to?
No, I mean, I just wanted to throw the prompt out there, right? So go. Give me your first thought.
My first thought was, it's interesting to me in this extreme conservative society that is so, the power balance is ridiculous. It's very patriarchal, and it's all that somebody would essentially be trans, I guess. That's kind of how I viewed it, right? Has a like masculine name and dresses masculine and doesn't speak to women anymore, I guess.
Speaks to children, and some of them are
speaks to
female,
children,
right?
But it was
my assumption was that she didn't speak to men either. She just spoke to children.
Maybe, yeah. But it's interesting that she or he, I guess, Melvin would be allowed to do that in that sort of colony or culture. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
But also a sense of like why she decided, because they say like she never felt like a woman, but she had a stillbirth, didn't she? It's implied that she
So it is implied. I mean, she's talking to. It's assumed, or I guess we should say they. They're talking to. It's assumed it's their brother through the slats in the wood, right? And they're saying essentially, I'm not sure if it's yours or if it's one of your friends, but it's fucked up essentially, right? And we get the memory flashback, like I was talking about, where it'll just like cut to, and they are not having a good time. They're like smearing blood on the walls, and but I mean, maybe it's as simple as everyone deals with grief in a different way, but it was never really explained why Melvin went mute per se.
Yeah. I'm reading this, and it says, August is one of two men left in the colony. The second being Melvin, formerly Nettie, who's a transgender man who, after being raped, does not speak except to younger children. I don't know. Did Melvin leave with the women? It looked like he did, or was like walking.
I want to say yes, because Melvin's the caretaker of all the children. So
yeah, it is just fascinating how
they would need Melvin to be there, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating how after being raped and abused like that, to become a man. You know what I mean? Is that a weird question? I don't know. It's interesting.
I mean,
I wish I could sort of explain kind of where that came about.
Right.
Maybe. Or at least
but
explain
I think it was that Melvin never really identified as female, like from the beginning, right?
So I would just like to know more about that transition culturally in that colony,
And maybe if this is a character from the books, then I'm sure
it's much more in depth.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm interested in reading the book. If it's, more often than not, the book's better than the movie, right? I would say 9 times out of 10, the book is better than the movie. And this movie is phenomenal. So I assume the book is just out of this world.
I would imagine. We're already pushing an hour, so we can wrap up. I know there's tons out that we didn't talk about, but any final thoughts?
Go see it if you can. And if you can't, rent it Buy it. There aren't many movies.
It's worth buying.
Yeah. There aren't many movies that I think are must-sees. You know, some movies are like fun, but I'm like, yeah, some people wouldn't like that. I think that this movie is a must-see. I want to nominate this film for the Golden Good Award.
Yes. Officially. I will agree with all of that. Please just watch this somehow. I think it's super important. I think it's really, really great. Mm-hmm. So, Zach, I have to ask you, this film is at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes and 80% audience score. But is Women Talking good?
Yeah, it's the best film we've reviewed this year so far.
Yep. Easy.
You know, it's a top 3 film that we've reviewed in the past 2 years, in my opinion. Like, not full 2 years, but since the beginning of last year, I guess. Yeah. So maybe like the past year in a couple months, you know. This film's phenomenal. This film is, I don't know. Go see it. You know?
I thought it was fantastic. That being said, and for some reason I really just am no longer looking forward to reading these reviews because we're going to do Every Movie Sucks. And I've got a feeling of what kind of reviews we're going to get. But let's see. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. This is Randall 35, half star. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's too long and it's going to piss me off. But the first sentence is women talking, more like women complaining. So there's that.
Comrade Yui says, this is a half-star review. Have we forgotten that film is a visual medium? Films aren't plays. They aren't theater. They aren't books. Why are people still insistent on trying to make movies emulate another art form?
I don't know about you, Zach.
Beautiful.
But when I watched this movie, I actually did watch something, and I saw it with my eyes. So therefore,
I think their point is that it takes the form of a play, and it does, right? Because there's like 3 set pieces, and all the dialogue takes place. So this could be a play on a stage, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't detract from it in any way. I thought it was amazing. I mean, there's a movie called the Phone Booth or whatever. The whole thing is just Colin Farrell on the phone with a sniper, you know?
I'm thinking of there's a movie called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom with Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis. And that actually is a play. And it takes place in like a handful of rooms and it's all dialogue and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Let me see here. What is this? I had one. This says, Jose says, every aspect of this is genuinely baffling. I cannot imagine anyone okaying any decision related to this. What a mess. These are just going to make me angry because it's people who are refusing to even give this a chance. Mm-hmm. But I digress.
Nick says, and all the negative reviews are men. I don't know if
they have been for me.
Nick said, it's a shame how something so provocative on paper ends up so timid and uninspiring on film. Nick, you didn't watch the movie if you thought it was timid and uninspiring.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay, this is my last one. Omid, half star, says, embarrassing from start to finish. I'm not even exaggerating when I say the dialogue reminded me of a Tommy Wiseau production at times.
Ooh.
What is your favorite movies? Let me see. What do you like? I don't know any of these movies. One of his favorite films is Freddy Got Fingered.
Ooh.
All right. Do you have any more? You done?
I'm trying to find one that's not just straight up offensive.
Yeah.
Jay gave this a 1.5 and said, white mediocrity strikes again.
Oh, lovely. Oh,
That's
man.
the least offensive of the ones that I found. There's a lot of reviews, lengthy reviews, that call the film ugly. Did you think the film was ugly? And I assume they're talking about like the literal like cinematography is ugly. Like it's not pleasing to look
I thought
at.
it was stunning.
Me too.
That's such a leave it to a film that's about women and you know abuse and misogyny and all this kind of stuff, and someone says, "Oh well, it's not pretty enough."
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was great. I didn't think it was ugly. I thought it was a beautifully shot movie.
That's the first thing we talked about was the cinematography and the music. So all these people,
there you go.
All these one-star
Don't
people.
listen to them. This was an incredible movie. Incredible movie.
Yep.
And as you know, our podcast opinion was the one that actually matters. So, now I guess what time it is. It's time for shindigs. I don't know about you, but I'm tired.
Well, it is 9 p.m. on a Saturday, so when you're an old man, it's time to go to bed, you know?
It is. First, we got shindigs. I've got news of the week. Zach, give me a song, please.
It's time for the news of the week.
Great. I lost some of my news because I remember writing some things, and they apparently didn't. I've been using my notes as like iCloud stuff, and I swear I lose some of it sometimes. Anyway, it doesn't matter. News of the week. Brendan Fraser finally spoke out on Batgirl being canceled because he played Firefly, was the villain, and he was just saying it's kind of a bummer. He thought it was great, and saying that I forget her name, Leslie something, who played Batgirl. She said that she was incredible, but that's how it goes. Hellboy is being rebooted yet again for the third time.
Hold on. So we had Ron Perlman. Was he the first one?
Yep.
And then we had David Harbour, right? Who's going to be the new one?
Don't know yet, but it's getting rebooted again.
Is it good enough to reboot 3 times? This isn't Spider-Man. I
don't think so. I don't really know of anybody who wants another Hellboy.
Can I tell you the truth? I didn't want the first Hellboy. Is Hellboy an intriguing? Is Hellboy part of a bigger universe?
I'm not sure. I know it's a book. I don't know if it's. I don't know.
Can you still hear me?
What?
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I thought she disconnected my mic.
Cable.
Yeah.
Speaking of universes, DC. The Flash is going to be screened a full month in advance at CinemaCon, San Diego, I believe.
So we're going?
Totally. Here's an interesting development. Superman Legacy, James Gunn has said that Superman Legacy started development like 6 months ago, which and before Henry Cavill returned for Black Adam.
Yeah.
So people are just saying like that's confusing. What they're saying is that.
So it was in the works before he was brought on, is what you're saying?
Yes, it was in the works, and like for a while there, I remember how like Man of Steel 2 was kind of a thing for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that
was always a separate thing. It was never Superman Legacy. So basically, what they're saying is it's The Rock's fault. The Rock strong-armed him back to try and boost Black Adam. Didn't have any contract. Basically, they said, okay, Black Adam's a smash hit. Then we can move forward to this. It wasn't. There you go. Last DC thing. Apparently, Aquaman 2 sucks.
Yeah.
So
it's got multiple bad screenings.
4 test screenings. Some people have said that it's the worst DCEU movie, which is if it's worse than Suicide Squad 1, then we'll see. Also, Aquaman 1 isn't some profound cinematic experience. Okay, it's a really cheesy, campy movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm not expecting
with horror elements thrown in there,
Yeah, but I'm not thinking the Aquaman 2 is going to be anything different, personally. But whatever.
Yeah.
Here's one that you're really excited for. Warner Brothers Discovery has acquired the rights to Lord of the Rings, and they're making Middle-earth movies.
Please, no. Like, for the love of God, no.
I don't think they're I don't think they're redoing anything, but they're making things.
No, but it dilutes the waters, man. Like,
yeah.
Can I tell you that there have been times in the past, like 2 years, where I've thought about watching like the original Star Wars trilogy, and then I'm just like, no,
you can't.
I can't because it makes me sad. So if they do that to my Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna riot. We're gonna start a riot.
Start a riot? Well, you heard it here, folks. You're inside of Zach Olsen is gonna incite a riot.
We're meeting
only if Warner Brothers messes up Lord of the Rings.
Times Square, October 23rd, 2026.
Okay.
At 6:30 p.m. There you have it.
Be there. A couple more things. Walking Dead.
Can I be arrested for planning something like that, like 3 years in advance?
I don't know, but for all intents and purposes, this is a joke. For anybody who's listening, the Walking Dead spinoff show that stars Rick and Michonne has started production because we all need more Walking Dead in our lives.
Oh man!
And then I remember there were like a couple of things that I think you sent me or somebody sent me. You sent me one of them. Pixar's produced, like the head of Pixar or whatever, has defended the creation and development of Toy Story 5. Basically, he's just saying, oh, we wouldn't do it if it didn't make sense for the story. And it's like, we don't need 5 of them. People are saying that we don't need a 5th one, but whatever. And I think it was you who sent me a thing that was saying that Pixar said they underestimated the audience? Or
they think that they miscalculated and asked too much of the audience by making a Lightyear movie that was not about the action figure. It was about like the person that the action figure is based on, which is, I mean, it's double wrong, right? Because one, if the audience is if the audience is so dumb that they can't if the audience is so dumb that they can't figure out what the movie is, then where the hell did we go wrong in our education? Or like what the hell's going on, right?
Yeah.
But 2, that's not the reason you shouldn't have made the film. You shouldn't have made the film because it's just not necessary. It's just
no one wanted it.
So I guess the lesson is, if you're going to just like cash grab IP, make a movie just for the money, it's got to be like heavily in the system. It can't be original or unique in any way.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see both sides of that coin. 1, the audience needs to be able to figure it out, but 2, like no one asked for Lightyear. No one wanted it.
That's right.
But anyway, that's all the news that I've got for now, at least that I had. So that's my shindig, Zach. How about your Hawk minute and or Braves minute?
We're going to do 30 seconds each, okay?
All
so
right,
you can time me, whatever. But all right, let's talk about the Hawks. We fired Nate McMillan. We fucking destroyed the Cavs last night. I mean, so we're recording this on Saturday. It was so good. We were up by like 40 at the half, and we're about to hire Quinn Snyder, who's this hotshot coach. He was most recently with the Jazz. It looks like we're going to be paying him $8 million a year, which is every coach that makes that salary has won a championship. Quinn Snyder hasn't, but it seems like the Hawks front office is confident that he'll be able to bring a championship to Atlanta. And we need someone who's able to develop young talent because we have a young team and Nate McMillan just wasn't working. All right, over to the Braves. Spring training has begun. We are playing games. And wouldn't you know it, the Braves were on the receiving end of a controversial call today in the Grapefruit League.
I don't know if it's controversial. It's the rules now.
It is the rules, but it's controversial because people don't want the rule changes. So
I hated it.
Let me be clear. Dude broke the rule. Based on the way that the rules are written, he should have been called out and the game should have been over. But let me tell you what's going on. Braves are down 3-6, bottom of the ninth. They tie the game up just based on like walking people in. And I believe that they were walking people in, like the poor Red Sox pitcher, because that is a high leverage situation and he has limited time to throw his pitches. So he's just freaking out. His heart rate's probably through the roof. Think about Kenley Jansen would have sat there for 7 minutes.
Yep.
And just stared at him, right? But we tie the game up. It is 2 outs, full count, and the Braves batter Cal Conley. Yeah, thank you. Cal Conley isn't attentive to the pitcher with 8 seconds on the clock. So the game ends on a called third strike because of a pitching clock violation, which is just an insane way to end a game. It's crazy that it wasn't the first game of spring training, but it was like the third game of spring training. It was the first Braves game of spring training, and
we've already got crazy.
Imagine if that happens in the NLCS or something.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. You're taking away strategy to the game, in my opinion. I get trying to speed it up, okay, whatever. But like, as somebody who's played baseball my entire life and loved it my entire life, I love that there was no clock. Like it.
You're adding a lot of strategy too, though. It's just different, right? I was reading some tweets, because I was heated after that call, and people were saying, well, the catcher wasn't even set, and the catcher doesn't have to be set. The catcher never has to be set. The catcher could be standing up, like straight up, and catch the ball. Yep. And so they were talking about it's possible that the catcher was standing like that on purpose to make it look like the pitch wasn't about to come, and so the batter thinks he has more time to go through his routine, right?
Yeah, maybe.
In addition, I don't know if you saw, but earlier in the game, Jesse Chavez, 39, and he was throwing a pitch every like 7 seconds. Our catcher would throw him the ball back, and he would just fucking throw it, and then he would just. Just like, I'm telling you, they didn't have any conversation, nothing. He would just like, get ready, wind up, go. Get ready, wind up, go. He had like 12 seconds left on the pitch clock every single time. So anyways, I don't like it. I also didn't like, when they first introduced it, I didn't like the extra runner on second base during extra innings. And over time, I came to like that. Like near the end of that season, when that was okay, well, it does speed it up, and it gets you to a point where you don't have 19 inning games, right?
Yeah.
The reason you hate it is because the Braves couldn't deal with it. The Braves did not know how to utilize that runner, which is so crazy because
I at least think that you shouldn't be able to strike out with 2 strikes. That's insane.
Well, but if it's a rule, then what would they do? Oh, unless it's 2 strikes and it's the last out of the game?
I think unless it's 2 strikes, yeah.
So then, but this is the last word on the subject. They're trying to speed up the games. It sped up the game by like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Like the normal, last year, the normal length for a game was like a little over 3 hours, and today's game was like 2 hours and 37 minutes or something. So like, is it worth it? Also, aren't they going to get less revenue from advertisements, less beer sales at the stadiums, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I was going to say, and then we can move on because it's getting late, but I don't want to go to a Braves game and be like, oh, it's 9:00, it's over. Like,
yeah.
Like I'd rather that be like my whole night. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe this is just because I just love Truist Park, but the last like 6 games that I've gone to, I've been in the park like a full hour early, just like drinking, walking around, reading the stats in that little like tunnel that they have with all the cool stuff. Just having a good time. So that's an option, but they're not playing, obviously.
Soon though. Anyway, Zach, that was very brave of you.
Thanks. It's the bravest thing I've done all week. Where can they find us, Hunter, if they want to talk to us?
We have to do whiskey shots. I've got my shot. Do you have your shot?
I do have my shot. I assume this isn't going to be on YouTube.
No. Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers to whiskey. I'm tired. Whiskey. I love you. Miss you, baby. Cheers to whiskey.
Ugh.
All right. They can find us on Twitter at BIIG Podcast. Email us at biigpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube at But Is It Good Podcast. Find me on Instagram at Hunter Callahan Music. Find Zach at Zach2, the THA future.31. Please say hello. We will announce our March schedule sometime
It's just
next
John
week.
Wick.
But we're going to do John Wick. We've decided to kind of go back to our roots. We started this podcast doing series and franchises, and so I've never seen any of the John Wick movies, so I'm very excited to dive into the John Wick movies. But that's what we're going to do. We'll send out the official one sometime this coming week. And yeah, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. That's about it.
All right.
Braves. We can say that again.
Go Braves.
Go Braves.
But Is It Good Podcast. Yeah.